Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Srikar and Jack.
And content, it's been a little dry recently. After the draft has gone by, there's a whole lot less going on. In this episode, actually, though, we're going to make up for that, and we're going to bring you guys a big news roundup. There's really been nothing big that's happened, but there's a lot of those little tiny small things. And in this episode, we're going to tie up all those loose ends, discuss all those little mini news things. And each can't be here, but you guys are going to get us two for about 40 minutes talking about all the little news things around the NFL. We'll talk about Tim Tebow and Kelvin Benjamin, their signings, talk about the schedule release, some of our favorite games, some things we're looking forward to, and that big Tom Brady and the Bucs versus the Patriots matchup. And then to wrap up the episode, a couple tackle contracts for some tackle needy teams that we like. But to start it off, Tim Tebow signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Kelvin Benjamin signed with the New York Giants. Srikar, what do you think about those signings?
Well, let's start off with Tebow. We've kind of said it. We've covered the Jaguars throughout the offseason, what Urban Meyer's been doing. If I'm being completely honest, I'm really not sure if Urban Meyer's, the guy in Jacksonville. A lot of his moves have had me scratching my head as to what he's doing. I mean, first off, we remember, I think he hired that coach from Iowa.
Yep.
Something about him being racist, something like that. That was not good for the locker room at all. So that's already one red flag. Next one was him drafting a third down back in the first round in Travis Etienne. And then
only taking
in his
snaps
first
at
practice
receiver.
at receiver. So it's like, whoa, what's going on there? I don't know what that's all about. And then, you try to even further get closer to your college glory days by signing your former college quarterback, Tim Tebow, to play tight end when Trey Burton and Tyler Eifert and people who've been playing tight end their whole lives are on the market. So it's, what are you doing? But here's the thing. Here's where I'm going to sympathize with Urban Meyer. In college, he loved to, run trick plays. I think he wanted that gadget guy. Maybe he sees some of that in Tebow. And Tebow's, he's a well-respected dude. It's not like he's a bad locker room guy. And if you're trying to build a culture, maybe adding someone like Tebow, it could be beneficial in that cause. But at the same time, you're trying to build a team. Like, culture is one thing. A team is a completely different aspect. So signing Tebow, it doesn't make sense to me. I would have went, even with Trey Burton and Tyler Eifert, you can still run trick plays. There's no limitations on that.
I mean, especially with Trey Burton, he's the one that ran the Philly special.
There you go. And it's just, why Tim Tebow? And it's just more and more, we're furthering this point of Meyer trying to do things the college way. He's using different tactics, that are reminiscent to what he did at Utah, at Florida, at Ohio State. And it's not going to work. It's just not going to. So, I mean, if I was a Jaguars fan, I'd be concerned because Urban Meyer, he's going to hit this wall. He's going to hit this wall and he's going to understand that stuff that worked, however many years ago is not going to work now in a different league, where players know it's a business. So I'm just left scratching my head, just like many other moves that Urban Meyer has made this offseason. But I don't know. It's hard to establish a real direction that the Jaguars are going. Even after drafting one of the most hyped prospects in years, we don't know what this team is. There's no identity. There's nothing there. So I am very concerned. And if I was a Jaguars fan, I'd be a little bit worried.
Yeah, I think it's too early to say like it's not going to work. I feel like don't count them out quite yet. I feel like the jury's still out on that, but I think what Urban was trying to do was show the locker room, show the Jaguars, when you play for me, I'm going to be loyal to you. Showing that he was loyal to Tim Tebow even after all these years. I think he's trying to show those Jaguars like, I'm going to be loyal to my guys. I'm going to do that. And maybe he was trying to bring Tebow in as a veteran presence. And while he's not a bad guy to help develop a culture, like you said, the locker room's not going to turn on each other, but they might like start to sour a little bit towards Urban Meyer because they're going to be like, look, dude, we've been grinding for years. I mean, even the rookies, like we've been grinding to get here. Tim Tebow's been playing baseball. Tim Tebow's 33 years old. He's been playing baseball and he's coming in. He's never played tight end before. And
it just feels like he's so far removed from football. Yep. It's just, and this is where, as you said, Tim Tebow could shock the world.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Trevor Lawrence, that could be a great tandem. But I mean, to me, I think he's just a camp body. I don't really see him being anything more than that.
It's putting too much on the line for that. I mean, like I agree with you. Like Urban, I don't think he's doing it the college way. I think he's doing it Urban's way. Like
Yeah.
I guess you're right. In college, like these people aren't the college athletes aren't competing, for money. They're not on contract. They're not trying to make it so they can make money to provide for their families. Yeah, they're trying to make it to the league, but NFL is a completely different story, and this might turn
Right.
free agents away from Jacksonville in the future. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I guess to put it completely plainly, Tim Tebow did not earn his way onto this team. And there are going to be players that earned their way onto NFL rosters that are going to be very upset. They're going to be very soured towards this signing. And I understand, making a signing like this if there's high upside. But Tim Tebow's a quarterback.
There's no upside.
I don't see any upside to this signing. Like I don't think what is he going to go out and catch like more than 10 passes this year? No, I really don't think so.
Yeah.
And like I feel like in order for this signing to make sense, it's like like that the Randy Moss pick, like when he was sliding down the boards and like everyone was just completely passing on him because they didn't want to draft him, bad, could cause issues. It's like there was so much upside with Randy Moss or with Montez Sweat a couple of years ago. They're like, oh, we're going to land him. But then a 33-year-old quarterback who hasn't played football in a while because he's been playing baseball, who you're going to sign to play tight end. And is he even going to start? Like, I'm trying to think who their other tight ends
he's
be.
Probably not.
James O'Shaughnessy? Is that the guy's name?
James O'Shaughnessy. I think they drafted a guy named Tyler Davis last year in the 4th round.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like we mentioned before, was a Jaguar last year. So, I mean, they could have just easily re-signed him, and he's an actual tight end. I think the signing makes no sense. No sense to me. I really dislike it.
And I saw people on NFL Twitter, comparing it to Kaepernick. Don't bring Kaepernick into this. I mean, first of all, he's not playing quarterback. Tebow's playing tight end. Kaepernick's he's not gonna catch passes. And then second of all, like Tebow got that opportunity and he took it. Colin Kaepernick rejected offers from teams. So it's two completely different situations. Just because one far removed QB is signed doesn't mean another needs to be compared to. It's just, I got a lot of respect for Colin Kaepernick, but I mean, you don't bring him up in this situation. It's so different. So I just had to address that.
It's only because it's not like Urban said, oh, look, Tim Tebow, he used to be a good college player. He's got athletic profile. It's just because he played for him. He's just literally being loyal to, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Tebow doesn't make it out of camp. He couldn't even make it out of an MLB camp, and he was playing baseball recently, and he hasn't played football in forever and hasn't played tight end ever. So
I mean, isn't there a video of like the one like pass that was thrown to him, like bonked him in the head? It was like
I haven't seen
he didn't even look the part. So who knows though? Tebow could have gained some weight. Maybe he was in the gym. Maybe he was really prepping for this. Maybe he knew Urban Meyer would come calling. It could have been planned out in advance.
Maybe, but
to me, it just seems like it's a surprise.
Football field. Has he ever blocked? Has he ever blocked someone?
No, he's never been an inline blocker.
I'm not talking for myself.
He's never lined up in the slot.
I've never blocked someone, but I'm not out here trying to sign an NFL contract. Like, I don't want to go play tight end. I'm good.
Exactly.
Tim Tebow,
like what?
How are they? I don't know. It might be like a publicity stunt or him trying to show he's loyal or just trying to give Tim Tebow a good time. But it was a risky move because, I mean, this is one of the first things he's doing as a head coach. I mean, I already hated the ETN draft pick, and especially what they're doing with him in practice, saying, at the very worst, he's going to be a very good receiving back. And like I've heard that that they wanted Kadarius Toney. They wanted that super shifty player in the slot with good hands because that's what they had with Percy Harvin. But I don't know. I wouldn't have hated if you're just.
I wouldn't have hated exactly, but I wouldn't have hated the ETN pick if they had him. If there was an expanded role for him.
Yeah.
If you're drafting a third down back at 25, my God, that's a reach. Yeah. Javonte Williams could have been, but I understand. You want to surround Trevor with his best friend, have some chemistry, but that doesn't work when you have James Robinson. Liked it
more if they just said he's going to be a receiver. Like if they just converted him to a slot receiver, I'd like that. I think that's a cool project.
But even then, that's such a questionable move. I don't think that would have worked out.
I would have liked it more than them. I would have liked it more than them just saying he'll play third downs.
Yeah, because even the Steelers, Najee Harris is a better receiving back than Travis Etienne. Steelers aren't going to do this with Najee Harris.
No,
they're going to try and use him as a
with that notion. I think Najee Harris is underrated in his pass catching aspect, but
they're going to use him as a pass catcher, but they're not going to have him play all his snaps in practice at receiver. Like that, they're not going that far.
No,
With
no.
ETN, you don't do that. You got to line him up at running back at some point.
Yeah.
So that's where it doesn't make sense.
It's a waste of a draft pick and a player if they're just going to use him as a third down running back.
For real.
Let's just say, safe to say, we have not been a fan of what Jaguars and Urban Meyer have done so far. Not a fan.
I mean, let's hope he proves us wrong for the sake of Jacksonville, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough to predict. It's very tough to predict. But right now, I think I can say, this team, it's made some very, very questionable decisions.
And the next player we move on to, breaking news: Kelvin Benjamin did eat a Popeyes biscuit. Booger McFarland famously said, maybe it was a Thursday night game or what? He was watching Kelvin Benjamin play, talking about him as a wide receiver. He said he's one Popeyes biscuit away from a tight end, and like Tim Tebow, he's coming in and he's signing with the New York Giants as a tight end. Who, again, never played the position before, but at least it's a little bit similar. Like he was just a very big wide receiver, and now he's going to play tight end. It's an interesting draft pick, or not draft pick, interesting signing. I don't know what to say about this one either. It's just, I guess he's getting his second shot, or like a second shot, and commend him for getting another opportunity. But he's also 30 years old, and they have Evan Ingram. I mean,
look, it's not as egregious as Tim Tebow going to a tight end. I mean, but he hasn't played since 2018, so it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
When Jack kind of told me about how old he was, the man is 30 years old. Like Kelvin Benjamin, to me, like I remember his rookie year and where like we thought he had all the potential in the world to be a top 10 wideout, all this stuff. And then so many years in the future, and he's just back. He's just back in the NFL. But to me, again, just like Tebow, can't body. I don't really expect him to make it on the 53. It's just, I'm glad for him. I'm glad he got another opportunity. Same with Tebow. I mean, at the end of the day, I got to respect it. Like they both got opportunities to come back and, they're both maybe back in the league, but in terms of impact, in terms of how this is going to affect the Giants, it's really not that big. Like it's highly publicized moves. You could say that even the Tim Tebow signing was a publicity stunt, but it's just, to me, is this really going to have an impact on the Giants receivers or the Giants pass catching core? No. Evan Ingram is still going to be the starting tight end. Kelvin Benjamin may not even make it out of camp, but I'm glad for him. And it just kind of brings a lot of nostalgia back from back when we were watching football in 2013 to 2015. Like those are the good old days. But yeah, I'm glad for Kelvin Benjamin, but I don't think it's going to work out for him either.
Hopefully it's just a little bit of fun. Like he's probably going to watch. He's going to catch a touchdown in the preseason, and then the NFL is going to post about it.
Everyone's going to go nuts,
and he won't. Then he'll be cut before the regular season. But it just there's two interesting moves.
Imagine that happens. Imagine that preseason touchdown happens with Tebow. Now that's a whole different situation.
We're gonna hear about that.
ESPN's
got their players, and for some reason over the past couple of years, even though he's been like in minor league sports, Tebow's been one of those names. And I guess it's interesting because he's like people can call him the best college football player of all time, or the most accomplished college football player of all time. And so I guess making that transition from football to baseball is interesting, but for some reason, ESPN, they love themselves some Tim Tebow. It's funny.
I mean, it's going to be crazy because Sports Center, ESPN, Bleacher Report, they're all going to be going wild if Tebow catches a touch in the preseason. It's Yep. And now J. Cole. They're posting J. Cole all over their feed, bro.
Oh my god. But no, it's
over a Rwanda league.
Yeah, it's two interesting moves. That's what we'll say. Two players getting second chances.
Hey, wait, speaking of second chances, we talked about our new partnership with Manscaped last week, and we are now giving you guys a second chance to use our code. And look, I had the honor of being one of the first to try Manscaped's new product, the Lawnmower 4.0, and I have to say, I am just blown away with how great my shaving experience was. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer with the Lawnmower 4.0 by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology, so you don't have to worry about those painful nicks that happen with any other razor. And it also includes a multi-function on and off switch, that can engage a travel lock, and it gives you the ability to turn on the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And the Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. So you have flexibility in picking how much you want to trim. And look, I didn't even mention the fact that it's waterproof. So you can groom in the shower and you don't have to worry about making a mess on the bathroom floor. I mean, that's heaven to me. To have the same great experience I did, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code CHT20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code CHT20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Now, I'll admit that the travel lock part is going to come in very handy when you're transporting it to college or something like that. But
Facts.
It left me befuddled when I opened the package the first time. I couldn't turn it on until I realized how stupid I was that I had to turn off the travel lock. So if you guys order it and use our code, make sure you do that and you're not standing there for 15 minutes trying to figure out how to turn the damn thing on. But like Srikar said, all the links will be in the description. If you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description of this video. If you're watching or listening to this on any of the other podcast platforms, it'll be in the episode description down below. CHT20 at manscaped.com. You know, congratulations. Good read.
Hey. Yes, sir. You already know.
We'll see when Anish gets back if he's got a better one up his sleeve. We'll see. But look, like we were mentioning about those two, it's just 2 second chance signings that they might not be too important. But then again, these last couple of weeks there has not been a lot of stuff important that's going on, which is why we're bringing you this big news roundup. But the one big thing that has happened is the schedule release. We learned about the schedules for all 18 weeks now, for all 32 NFL teams. We want to talk a little bit about it. Srikar, why don't you start us off talking about some of the games you like on the slate, some notable games. Let us know what you think.
Well, when the schedule release comes around, I know a lot of NFL fans are like, wow, people are overrating this. Like, no, I'm always hyped for the schedule release. I mean, you get a clue in on, what slates are like for different teams. Are you going to have a 3-game homestand? Are you on the road, travel, different, how many miles are you going to go? Like the Bears, for example, like this is a cool tidbit I found. They alternate home and away games every single week, weeks 1 through 18. They don't have a double header, or they don't go 2 home games in a row. They don't go 2 road games in a row. They just alternate. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know how many times that's happened before. Maybe it's the first time ever. I have no idea. But I think the addition of the 18th game, I think we're going to see, in the near future, a 19th game just because they want to even out the home and away slates.
Yeah.
But some games I'm looking forward to. Come on, Bucs Patriots. Who's not looking forward to this game? Like it's already going for like, what, $1,700 a seat?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, oh my goodness. And for good reason. Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady's back in Foxborough. I saw like someone say like, wow, do you think Pats fans are going to boo him? Like, why? Why would you boo Tom Brady?
There will be some. I guarantee you there will be some.
Why?
There will be
the man that brought you 6 rings. My bad.
Well, a lot of those fans, a lot of those people will be the ones that say that Belichick brought them those rings.
But even then, how are you going to discredit Brady? I mean, that just doesn't make sense.
That's not discrediting him. It's just booing him.
But I do understand the stigma behind it all. I mean, all the falling out with that whole situation. Maybe someone boos. I'm expecting majority to give him a giant tribute. I'm expecting the Crafts to give him a large tribute.
I assume that the Patriots are going to do something. They'll show a video.
They're going to do something.
They're definitely going to honor him in some way.
They have to. If they didn't, it'd just be weird. But I think that game, you have to tune in. That's one that you just got to watch, like no matter where you are. Because that's history right there. If Brady wins that game, he's beaten every single NFL team.
Yep.
But imagine if the Pats win that game.
I was thinking it would be pretty interesting if that game was week 1 and at Tampa Bay. So the Belichick and the Patriots had to watch them get their rings. That would be brutal.
And speaking of week 1, the kickoff game, I love Cowboys Bucks. Yeah. That's going to be a great game. Dak Prescott is back. We get to see, basically the same Bucks team from last year back in action.
And we get to hear all the Cowboys fans talking about how they're going to start their Super Bowl run by beating the defending champs week 1.
No, the ratings are going to be through the roof.
Oh yeah,
because it's America's team versus Tom Brady. Like
that's going to be
my goodness.
That game, and I think it was Cowboys Raiders, which is it might be a Sunday night or a Thursday night. Going to be some of the most tuned into games ever. Or like
and
this
speaking
year.
of the Raiders, the Raiders tickets are mad expensive. Like,
I mean,
we saw like Bucks
everyone wants
Patriots.
to go to the stadium.
It's Vegas for sure. But like they're all hovering around that Bucks Patriots range. So I'm like, if you want to go to a Raiders game, like you got to have deep pockets, bro.
And
like,
if you want to sit in
that,
I think they've got like was it the nightclub like
yeah,
near the
no,
end zone?
that's such a cool aspect. Like
that is cool until you miss a field goal. I mean,
or until Derek Carr overthrows a receiver.
Yeah. Overthrow and it hits the DJ. You hear the little record scratch.
I won't slander Derek Carr, man.
Oh my god.
I got respect for Derek Carr. But man, Raiders games, they're gonna be expensive.
Yeah, you're gonna have to penny up for that one. Is it bad to say, like, is this Bucks Patriots matchup like one of the most important non-playoff NFL games of all time? I mean, like, narrative wise.
Narrative wise, hands down.
It's gonna be talked about forever, no matter what happens.
Belichick versus side. Brady.
Yeah,
that Belichick Brady, it might be put to rest. That whole Belichick Brady debate, because if Belichick wins, I mean, dude, that's going to just spark up the debate even more. But if Brady wins that game, maybe it just puts it to rest. And we just say Brady was the reason.
Brady, we think, already ended the Brady-Mahomes dispute, like preemptively, before Mahomes goes through his career. If he beats Belichick, I mean,
we got to see. Yeah. There's a lot of storylines through that game, man. It's two great defenses going up against each other too. That's something that's not being talked about. I'd love to see. I mean, they obviously don't face off against each other, but they're going to be lining up on different offenses. I'd love to see the Pats defense go against the Tampa Bay offense.
Yeah.
And another game I was looking forward to, Jaguars Jets. And even though it's not like, Jaguars and Jets aren't going to do much this year.
No.
But Zach Wilson versus Trevor Lawrence, this is their first meeting. We might be seeing this, kind of budding rivalry throughout the future. Who knows? That's going to be exciting to watch. I'm excited for, a little biased, but Packers Niners week 3.
Yep.
How are we going to see Aaron Rodgers? Packers Saints week 1 is going to be a good game. Even with no Drew Brees, I think the Saints will do pretty good. Maybe they go, they could go 9-8. Maybe.
It'd be interesting if it's Packers Saints with no Brees and no Rodgers though. That'd be interesting.
But that would, Jordan Love versus Jameis Winston. But we all know we're here for A-Rod if we're gonna watch that game.
We're gonna figure it out.
There's
a ton of games to watch too. Personally for me, it's the Darnold versus the Jets week 1. Of course, the NFL did that.
Yes, sir.
Darnold revenge game. I'm interested. Have you looked through the whole Niners schedule and kind of figured out what you think their record's gonna be?
Yeah, early prediction is I'm thinking 12-5.
Okay.
Here I'll set minimums and maximums. I think not 10-7. I'd say 9-8 at minimum, and I'd say 13-4 max. And if you're trying to find the sweet spot, I'm going 12-5. And I think we lose. I think we split with every single team in our division. So Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams. Those are all splits. I think we lose to the Titans in week 16 because it's going to be a short week, and you're going from San Francisco to Nashville. That's not going to bode well. Another potential loss, could be the Packers. Honestly, it could be the Packers, but they don't tend to lose at home. So who knows if that's a loss or not. Potential upset could be the Eagles and Philly because you're going from Detroit. I don't expect that to happen though. I think they're going to start off the year 3-0, 4-0 maybe. But 12-5 is my record prediction. I did a playoff predictors. It was a scrapped video, but I did a playoff predictors. I had the division shaking up as Rams win the division at 12-5 because they win the week 17 tiebreaker. Niners tie them, but they get the second spot at 12-5. I think I had Seahawks going either 10-7 or 11-6. Because you can't count out Russell Wilson. No, I always hear about, this is the year the Seahawks are going to fall. As long as that's one thing I've learned throughout watching him throughout all this time in the NFC West. You never count out Russell Wilson.
You can't.
You never say he's going to go below 500. I think they go 11-6, maybe 10-7.
Yeah.
Cardinals, I haven't really been high on their offseason.
Definitely not.
I had them going 9-8. I had them going 9-8. I don't, if they get better, it's just marginally, but I don't expect them to be a playoff team this year. It's just, I had so much hope for them, and then they just kept taking steps back this offseason because you got to get guys to grow with Kyler Murray, not against him, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So it's just the NFC West is going to be super tough. We could see three teams in the.
You're going to see a potential playoff team come in last.
Yeah,
You can't say
exactly.
that about
And that's Arizona
any
to
other
me.
division, I don't think.
You can't. I mean, AFC North maybe, but the Bengals aren't going to be all that.
AFC West? Nah, no, the Raiders.
The Raiders are going to be the weak links. The Raiders are going to be.
I guess technically the NFC
Broncos
East
could make it.
Technically the NFC East, because they're all up there for winning the division. Oh my god.
Oh, in fact, let me spew out a hot take right now. I'm sorry, I'm just going off my playoff predictors. Giants are going to win the NFC East, and it's not going to be by a big margin. I think they're going to win it with like 7 or 8 wins. It's going to be
every year.
An exact replica of last year. We're going to see this annual tradition of the 5 seed beating the 4 seed because wow, the NFC East can't do anything in the playoffs. So whoever gets that 5 seed, consider yourself lucky. But I think the Giants are going to win. I mean, the football team with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, do I really think they're going to make the playoffs?
Heineke, you never know. I mean, we don't know what's going on in Washington. Washington's a playoff team except for the quarterback position.
And they don't, since they don't have that figured out, I can't bet on them really.
I think they're a contender minus a real contender minus the quarterback position. I would look if Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded, I'm like praying it's going to be to Washington.
It's Washington.
That would be
I hope it's
amazing.
Denver. I hope it's Denver, honestly, because we get Rodgers versus Mahomes twice a year.
See, but then someone good is getting left out in that division, and it's probably going to be Herbert, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even with Teddy Bridgewater, I think the Broncos still have a shot to make the playoffs. I mean, think it's going to come down to
if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I can control a little bit of where I'm traded, I'm picking Washington. I mean, that's an easy divisional win.
Easy, yeah. It help out, Aaron Rodgers. He'd have weapons. He'd have Antonio Gibson. He'd have a pretty good line. He has Brandon Sheriff on there.
Yep.
He has Terry McLaurin. They just added De'Ami Brown, Curtis Samuel. I mean,
Logan Thomas,
be pretty set there.
End. They're good.
Phenomenal defense too. Like he'd be pretty set there. So I wouldn't mind a Washington trade. In terms of where it's more likely, I don't think Washington's going to give up, the assets required to get Aaron Rodgers. I think the Broncos have more in that regard. Even the Raiders have more in that regard. The Raiders have assets to give up. But really, I think that division is going to be anyone but the Eagles. The NFC East is going to be anyone but the Eagles. I think the Eagles are clearly the weak links, but they're pretty set up for the future. I mean, they have 3 first-round picks. If Jalen Hurts doesn't work out, like I don't think it will this year, you can get yourself a new quarterback. Spencer Rattler may be available. Sam Howell, Keaton Slovis. I mean, who knows? Who knows how that's going to go? But the NFC East, it's going to be a joke. Once again, it's going to be a pretty big joke.
Yeah, and the Cowboys fans that I pissed off earlier are going to be even more pissed off. Like, I know Cowboys fans are going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. Dak is back. We're easily winning this division.
Dak is back. That defense isn't back.
The defense is back. That's the problem. That's the problem. The defense is back.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you had Micah Parsons, but it's still a bad defense. And
I
still don't know how I feel about the whole Cowboys organization. I still don't know.
It's just you could tell they made moves on defense. Did they make the right ones? No, I don't think they did.
I don't think so either. We kind of strayed a little bit from the schedule release, but as we were saying, there are a lot of great games. If you're watching this on YouTube, actually, let us know down below what you think when you looked at your team's schedule, what was the game you're most excited for? Or if you looked at the normal schedule, what game are you most excited for? And if you want, put down below also what you think your team's record is. I think personally the Jets, I'm guessing right now about 6-11.
I'd go one lower. I'd say 5-12.
I was more hopeful before the schedule, but then I kind of looked at it and I'm like, I don't see them winning any of these games. I think max,
it's a tough schedule.
Max they win 8 games if Zach Wilson has a really good rookie year and they're able to steal a game from the Dolphins or steal a game from the Patriots, which I think they probably only win one divisional game, kind of on a fluke. I could
see it.
It's Bill Belichick against rookie QBs. The Bills are so good, and maybe they steal a game from the Dolphins, but I still don't know. And I think,
with the Jets, it's all about patience too.
Yeah, and at the worst, I think they go 3-14, which would be pretty horrible. But it's a new rookie quarterback, and they have a rough schedule. They do play in London though, which I'm excited for. That'll be cool.
Hey, there you go. That's nice.
And we're seeing a little bit more international games. I'm getting excited for those international games because this could become much much bigger as we see the years go on, because when you add more weeks too, you add more opportunities like that. We've seen the MLB recently. They had games in London, but they also had games, I think, in Tokyo, and they
Yeah,
had
they're
games
going all over the
in
world.
Mexico, I believe, as well, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. If the NFL can do stuff like that, that'll be so cool. I remember they were going to have the Chiefs Rams game that went on to become like one of the best games that we've ever seen,
That was going to be
was
Mexico
supposed to be a
City.
Mexico game. So
Mhm.
the international thing, it could be really cool, because the NFL, we know they're trying to increase their international audience. And so you
Mhm.
might start seeing some games in London and in Japan and in China, like all these different places. And I think that could be really, really cool. And it would be a very big thing for the NFL. And I'd be
Yeah,
excited
and
to
they're
definitely
big
see
enough to
it.
do that. They're
Definitely,
big
without
enough
a
to do that.
doubt.
Like the NBA's done that, the MLB's done that. You could bet that the NFL could do
I've
that. Like,
seen, like, there's an
I'd
Instagram
love to
account
see
like
it.
NFL UK that's got so many
Mhm.
followers. Like, they're commenting all the posts, and I click and I'm like, what is this? And it's like just UK fans of the NFL, I believe. And it's
Yeah, and
there's
they're
a
all coming
market.
together. Like, it's perfect.
There's a
Yeah.
market in a lot of different countries. So it could be really cool if they start moving into a little bit more international focused. And I think that while players might be upset at the fact that like it's going to be 18 weeks or even 19 weeks possibly in the future, if they're getting a chance to travel and play games in new locations, I feel like that might sweeten the deal a little
But
bit for them.
see, that could hurt them too, because jet lag.
Jet lag, I
Jet
guess that would
lag, you know,
suck.
who knows? You got a week to recover from that. I mean,
Yeah,
players could just hate it even more. But
that's
I mean, the
true.
NFL definitely wants to, from a business perspective, it's perfect for the NFL. It's
Yeah.
perfect for Goodell. I'd like to see them maybe add another location in Europe, somewhere up
Hmm.
in London. You could go to Asia, maybe more game in Mexico City. I know Canada could use maybe an NFL
Hmm.
game. Who knows? You have so
There's
many
a market. The
avenues to
NFL is
go
big
through.
enough. The NFL is big enough to do it. I think it might be interesting if they go to 20 weeks and they introduce 2 buys. I feel like that'd be much better.
I feel like if they went, it would take a while before they went to 20. I think 19 is where they'd cap it for now, just
Yeah.
because they want to have it even.
I just like the
Because
idea of having
if you
two
go to
bye weeks, because sometimes
because if
like
you go to 20, I mean, 2 buys, would that make it even?
that would be
Yeah, it would.
mhm.
It
nine games,
would.
9 games at home, 9 games on the road. If you're doing those international games, you can have a bye before or a bye after. You can almost guarantee it. And some of these teams, like they have got week 5 buys and they don't have another bye until like for 12 plus weeks. And if they make the playoffs, it's even
Mhm.
longer. It's just,
Yeah.
if there's 2 buys, you can control that a lot more.
Mhm.
And
I
getting
think the
those,
players the players definitely like that more.
I'd be interested to hear, like, would they rather have like what we had before, 17 weeks with 1 bye or 20 weeks with 2? I feel like they'd prefer
Yeah.
20 weeks with 2.
Mhm. I mean that definitely makes sense if they ever did push it to 20. I think
Yeah.
you'd have to have an extra buy in there, or else that's so much wear and tear on the
Mhm.
players. It
Especially
just
if they
gets
have an early
unfair.
bye week too. Like that's the thing. Like there
Yeah.
shouldn't be buys in week 5 or week 4. Like
Mhm.
that's too early in my opinion.
That's way too early. The Niners have like a week 6 bye.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even that's kind of early, because
Mhm.
I'd rather have a bye like right in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
that's the sweet spot. You can recuperate, you can try and run the table from there.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have an early bye, I mean, the 2019 Niners had an early bye. They had a
Yep.
week 3 bye. And, ultimately they were just more battle tested. They were ready for the playoffs.
Mhm.
But it could have the opposite effect. You could be tired out, but who knows?
Well,
It
think
just
about it. Think
depends
about
on
what
how
happened
your
with the
team goes
Niners.
through it.
They had a week 3 bye, went all the way through playing into the Super Bowl, and then
Yeah.
came back the next year and everyone got hurt.
Everyone got hurt. That's
Maybe
the
there's a
problem.
correlation there too. Like,
That's the problem. But then
so
again, no training camp, no preseason. If you play through all that and you just come back with no real with like pads on, it gets tough.
yeah.
It gets tough. So I think there definitely is a correlation there. Um
And players
it's
and
just
players this offseason have to take things into their own hands to train. We've already seen it with Jawan James, players getting hurt, they don't even get paid. The NFL's doing a lot of things that are making
But here's
players
the thing
upset.
with the Jawan James thing, the players agreed on that.
Yeah.
They agreed on that rule.
No, I agree. And they're the
I
ones
think it
that
was
don't
in the
want to go to
CBA.
they're the ones that don't want to go to the non-mandatory camps.
Exactly. It's conflicting.
Yeah, they
But
made their
I
beds.
understand why the players. I understand why the players would be mad though. Like, I
No,
can't
definitely.
fault them for that.
No. But
It's just
he's got no chance if he files a lawsuit. They agreed to this
no chance
ruling.
at all against the entire NFL. There's no chance because
Yeah.
exactly. He agreed to this. Like,
Yeah.
There's just nothing you can do
it's
at
just
that
tough,
point.
and the wear and tear on these players' bodies are real. And with the
Mhm.
weeks going up, and the fact we haven't been able to have full camps, like rookie camp has been able to happen, but with the limits on things, they're going to come back. And we saw a lot of injuries early in the season last year because of this exact issue, and we're probably going to see it again this year.
I do want to look more into that though. Like I want to look at the injuries of Saquon Barkley, guys who got hurt, Nick Bosa, guys who got hurt early, like the Broncos were ravaged by injuries early.
Yep.
Like, did they have early buys? Is there something related to that? Because that's an interesting little side case to be worried about.
I mean, yeah, like Von Miller and Courtland Sutton going down, it's probably because the offseason they couldn't do everything, and they probably tried to rush back into it because they needed to, because they were on the clock because they had a week 1 game. It's like, I don't know. It's a tough situation to talk about. Moving on from the negativity, there were a couple good tackle signings we liked. We'll start with Alejandro Villanueva to the Ravens, a former Steelers tackle. Srikar, you wrote in a couple notes. Why don't you fill us in on what you thought about that signing?
Well, Eric DaCosta is one of the best general managers in the league. This is a known fact. He just works super wisely. With this Villanueva signing, I think it is pretty much the perfect stopgap option, just about as good as it can get. So they signed him 2 years, $14 million. 8 of that is guaranteed. So they're not obligated to him. He's an old veteran, someone they're going to plug in at, left tackle. If Stanley, knock on wood, this doesn't happen, but if Stanley happens to suffer a setback and he has to miss the start of the season, Villanueva can play left tackle, or else he'll just replace Orlando Brown. I think that's perfect in that regard. He wanted a guy who could be versatile and who could play both positions. So I like it from that aspect. And just now there's a lot more options for Baltimore.
Yep.
You can afford in this next draft to get some, high upside developmental player at tackle that you can sit behind Villanueva. He can soak up all that information because, for a guy with that much experience playing with Big Ben, like there's a lot of stuff you could pick apart from Villanueva's brain if you're a prospect. So I really like it. They didn't overpay on a tackle. They didn't reach for a tackle in the draft. This was absolutely a bargain. This was the move that Baltimore needed. For a guy like Lamar Jackson, this helps him out a lot. This Baltimore offense can go back to just being the explosive offense as it is. You don't have to worry about that right tackle spot or the blindside spot. I mean, I really like the move. I just have no complaints because I just think it's just a straight up bargain. 2 years, 14 mil. I mean, it's perfect for a guy of his age and his caliber.
Yeah, and that's the move that freed them up to be able to take Rashad Bateman in the draft. I mean, if not, they had to take a tackle at that pick. And I agree with you. I can't say anything else. I'll move on to talk about the other one, Eric Fisher, former first overall pick and tackle for the Chiefs, Super Bowl champion, signing with the Colts. He was almost mysteriously cut from the Chiefs. And we knew he was injured, but that was a big cut for the Chiefs. And we didn't know where he would sign. We don't know if he'll be back exactly for week 1. I think they think he might be on track, but we don't.
They might be on track, but they don't want to rush him.
Definitely not. And they don't need to. That offensive line is good enough already. And it's just, he's replacing Anthony Costanzo, obviously, but it's just a good move, a very high upside move. Like, I mean, it could fizzle out and he's not ever healthy enough to play, or he's just not as good. But you're signing, like, was it a 1-year deal for Eric Fisher? It's not.
I think it's 1-year deal. I don't remember how much money, but I think it's worth the risk. For sure.
Definitely. And like, if it doesn't work, he's just a free agent next year. But if he does, it's a good protector for Carson Wentz's backside, alongside Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly and Braden Smith, their right tackle. So it's
Glowinski too.
Glowinski at right guard. So it's already a great offensive line. They were just missing that left tackle piece. And so while I do wish they took a guy like Tevin Jenkins at their pick in the first round, like, this is a good move, a very high upside move, even though, like, he doesn't have much upside as a player. The signing definitely does, because what they have at left tackle right now isn't great. But by signing Fisher, if he's what he was, or even just a little bit below what he was with the Chiefs, that's still a very solid league above average left tackle for Carson Wentz. And that's just a perfect move, in my opinion.
And we've seen shades of, the number 1 overall pick. And I did a post on this. It was on, top 10 remaining free agents. I think Fisher was in my top 5, maybe top 4. But I mean, if he can return to the form he was this past year, my God, the Colts got to steal. They got to straight up steal. As you said, high upside. It's worth a gamble if you're the Colts. The only thing I'm worried about is it's the most important position on the offensive line. Like, it's Carson Wentz's blindside protector. And we all know that Carson Wentz didn't have the best O-line in Philly, and ultimately that led to him suffering. But obviously the situation's much better with the Colts. So I think if Eric Fisher, isn't exactly what we thought he'd be, maybe he comes back 50 to 75% of what he was. It's not the end of the world for the Colts because you still got you still got a good O-line. You have one of the best guards in the NFL, one of the best offensive linemen ever to play the game in Quentin Nelson. It's just, if you're Carson Wentz, you got to be ecstatic. And if you're Eric Fisher, you got to be so glad you got the opportunity to play, with this great O-line. And having a great O-line or like around Fisher, that's going to help him a lot.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
It's definitely going to help him. I just hope the rehab goes well. I really hope he just comes back to full strength. The Colts don't really need to push it. Rest him until he is 100% healthy. You don't want to rush someone who just tore his Achilles. That is one of the worst mistakes you could make in sports. You just don't do that.
I mean, is that exactly what happened to Kevin Durant?
Yep. Happened to KD. I think it's happened to many other players before that they tore their Achilles. Doctors give the okay, quote unquote, give the okay. They get out there and they're hurt. And sometimes it's just off their own will. Sometimes the coaches just make a brash decision to win games. It's just, you don't rush him. You don't rush Eric Fisher. And that way he can get more acclimated to the system in Indianapolis. It's a big change of scenery, one that could work out well for him. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure for him coming into the league. There's not as much pressure, but look, you're protecting Carson Wentz. There is some pressure that's going to come with that. But, I mean, some of that's alleviated. Alleviated. He has time. He has time to develop and grow even more. Like, he had a great year last year, but there's still room for him. There's still a ceiling that he has to hit, and he could hit that with Indianapolis. And that's why I love this gamble here by the Colts and Chris Ballard.
I still can't believe that no one signed Mitchell Schwartz.
I think that
injury
because he had a back injury.
That injury.
No. Mitchell Schwartz had a back injury. That's why everyone's just not trying to go for him. It's a torn Achilles versus a back.
Yeah, I don't know.
Back injuries are always worse.
I hope Schwartz gets another chance. He was my top tackle in the league just a year ago. Like,
he's my top remaining free agent. Yeah, it's just,
I'm surprised. Like, teams taking a flyer on Eric Fisher. I'm surprised. Like, even if they take a flyer, like, not that he would come back this year, but just to stash him on their roster. Like, even
what team would you like to see get him?
I would love the Jets to sign him. Their right tackle right now is George Fant. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. The Jaguars, like even the Jaguars,
the Broncos. The Broncos could use Mitchell Schwartz.
I mean,
James is gone.
They don't want to pay their own injured tackle, so why would they want to pay another one?
That's true.
I'm sure there's. I mean, like the Ravens would have been a good spot for him too. I like Villanueva, but he would have been a good fit there. I think there's definitely teams out there, especially with the Jaguars with Juwan Taylor giving up, I think, 18 sacks last year.
Yeah, pretty disappointing.
There's room for him somewhere, and I hope he gets signed. I really do.
Definitely.
It'd be kind of
unfortunate
back
injuries.
If he doesn't.
Yeah, back injury. You always have to be careful. You got to be wary of that stuff,
especially at the tackle position, because you need to be flexible and able to turn quickly. And so, like, I understand
you gotta be dynamic.
I understand it, but I really hope he gets signed soon. He's a good player.
Same here.
That's all we got today, though. I mean, we hope you guys enjoyed this kind of hodgepodge of a bunch of different random NFL topics. Next week we've got a very creative idea planned out for you. We'll have us three again, and it'll be a little bit more focused than this one, but we wanted to kind of get everything off of the plate, all this NFL news. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment letting us know what you thought. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that you find your podcasts, feel free to subscribe to the podcast and go down and leave a 5-star review. Any support really helps us grow. And with this dry period of news and content and everything that's happening, we appreciate your support tenfold during these times. We're about to finish up our senior years, and we can get way more content out to you guys. I know it's been a while since we had kind of those main videos on our YouTube channel, but they're in the works. And once we get through, AP testing and graduation and all that stuff over the summer, we're going to get you guys so much content. We're super excited. We've got some certain things in place I guess I'll drop a little hint in the name of Kyle Pitts. But other than that,
Mm-hmm.
we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week again with another episode of the Cold Hard Truth podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.